Just a quick message before I show you the rest of this video. I decided after making it to split it up into two parts. It wasn't something that was planned, but because these videos are so long and I'm not going to make you sit through an hour of me showing you how a song is constructed, I decided to break them up into bite-sized pieces. So at the end of this video, you're going to hear me say, oh, that's the end of part one, have fun with part two, or whatever. And then with the second video, I'm going to do the same thing. I won't be doing this for every video that I do, i.e. me presenting myself to you like this, but I just wanted to prepare you for what's about to come. Enjoy the video. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Music Deconstructed. First thing I want to do is apologize for my AC unit in the background making all this noise. It's going to come and go, and quite frankly, I'm not going to get rid of the noise. It's just going to be too much work for me. Second thing I want to say before I get started on this song is, just like my other videos where I deconstruct some older songs of mine, this song is also older. Again, if you've heard this, I apologize for repeating myself, but if you haven't, this song has a lot of plugins and a lot of information in it that was there when I wrote the song, you know, a long time ago, which means either I didn't install plugins that I used at the time I wrote this, or the plugins are just outdated and I haven't installed them. So this song, when you hear it, might sound a lot different from the song that's on the actual album. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out the song at my website, aloststateofmind.com. The link will be in the description below, and so will the song, the link to this song. It's on my album Forever, and it's called I Am Alone. I encourage you to listen to it, to try to pick it apart on your own, and then that way when you come back, you can kind of see how I did some of these things. Now, this song is very complicated. It's not structured in a way that most songs are, so it's going to be somewhat difficult for me to kind of navigate my way through this. Also, as you can tell, it's a large song. There's a lot going on in it. I did a couple things differently for this song. For example, instead of keeping the songs, the drums rather, as a MIDI track, I decided to bounce the drums all the way down into each individual element. And so I'm not going to go over the drums too much in this song, just because it's going to cause confusion, not just for you, but for me, because there's just so much to navigate through. So I'll give you an idea. I'll give you a run through the drums, but I'm not going to really go back and forth through them. Here are the drums. There's not much with the drums going on at the end, because it's just a kick drum pretty much. Now, when I take my MIDI tracks and I bounce the drums down, I bounce them down the same way I would record live drums. I'll have a kick track, a snare track, a hi-hat, some toms, and some overhead mics. When I record live drums, or when I used to, I would have mics set up for each of these different elements. And so I kind of treat it the same way. And so the benefit to this is it lessens CPU power, because I don't have to have the plugin that I use for my drums I don't have to have it in with the song while it's playing. So it, again, it clears up some CPU resources, but it also allows me to control the drums just a little bit more. Either way is fine. It's just for this song I decided to bounce everything down. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and solo the drums so you can kind of hear what they sound like on their own. So as you can tell, the drums aren't too exciting. They pick up on the second verse a little bit right here. And they do that for the second verse. The best way to explain this, and just kind of remember this for later on in the song, I didn't want two verses that were just so, the song is brooding enough already. I didn't want it to be completely like boring and brutal and brooding and all this crap. So I decided to pick it up a little bit on the second verse, but of course it goes back down into its brooding state when I have this kick drum over and over and over again. This song is a good example of my repetitiveness. It's not for everybody, but So that's pretty much, you'll hear the drums as it's happening, but this is what it looks like with each element. Again, this is the kick, the snare, the hi-hats are right here. The toms are all in this area, and then you have your overhead, your ambient mics, and your far ambient mics. I don't know if I'm ever going to do a video on drum miking or anything, because I don't have a drum set anymore. I don't have all my mics anymore, and so it would be just a bunch of pictures that I would draw for you, and that's, it's not fun. But if I'm being candid, one of my favorite things to do when recording a live band is working with the drums. It's fun. You can get very creative in a lot of ways with drums. So let's start off. Again, this song is different with the way it's structured. You have your first verse, then you have a break, and it's kind of a chorus, but not really, and you'll see what I mean. And then the song picks up to the second verse, and then there's a break with that chorus, and then it does a final repetitive outro. Okay. So the very first part of the song, I use this program called Razor, and it's within a Reactor. You have to buy it separately, but Reactor is made by Native Instruments, and Razor is an extra sound sample library you can use. And it was just one of the stock effects that I used. I didn't do a lot of changes. It was just this neat little build in and kind of build out, or fade out rather, and it sounded good, and I went with it. So here is how the song first starts off, and this is the track. And that's all. That's all there is to it. I'm going to mute all my vocals because, again, I don't know when I'm going to show them to you, but I'm just going to get rid of them for right now so you can hear the music itself. Now, this part kind of, it goes on throughout the song. It goes on throughout the first verse, but then I kind of cut it out and I have it, just fade in now and then. And then it gets to a point where it doesn't even play anymore. But I needed to kind of complement that little synth sound. So I decided to create this guitar. In fact, this guitar riff is the first thing I wrote for this song. I was just doodling around one day, and I was in one of my weird moods, and it was very simple. I liked it, and it opened the door for the rest of the song, or what the rest of the song was going to become. So here's the song by itself. I only have one instance of this guitar playing. It's just I didn't double track it or do anything like that. So what we have here is you have the basic guitar, and when you play the guitar with the intro synth, this is what it sounds like together. And that's what you have. Now, okay, so this is where it gets kind of confusing. So far what we have the drums, we have the intro synth riff, and then we have this guitar riff right here. Let me go down the vocals and play you what I have for that, so it can kind of make sense as far as when I come in, when everything else comes in. These are my vocals soloed right here. I'm flooding myself with thoughts of decay. Without a tear, I fade away. A little rough at the end there, but you get the idea. Now, if you noticed, there was a delay on this track. It was the very first phrase that I sang. A lot of musicians make the mistake of adding a delay to their vocals track and then just leaving it there. That can create some issues. That can cause your vocals to sound a little muddied, and they get lost in the mix. And I do that sometimes, depending on the song I'm working on. But for this song in particular, I wanted that delay, but I only wanted it at the first phrase that I sung. So let me play that back for you. And this right here that you see, this is the automation. Over here, you know, I have the delay, and I automated the delay to where I cut it out after that first phrase. So if you look here, it cuts out. So let me play that again so you can hear what happens, in case you missed it. I'm flooding myself with thoughts of decay. And you get the idea. So if you're new to songwriting or you're new to audio production, again, there's really never a right and wrong. But if you're trying to be creative with your vocals, I hate admitting this, but listen to a lot of pop songs today where they do weird things with the vocals. I'm not saying they're good things, but they're you can treat your vocals a variety of ways, and you can do things that are subtle that can make people notice what's happening, but not really at the same time. So things like this, adding one delay, it catches people's attention, it helps them focus. At least that's what I think. But so that's what you have so far. And let me play everything for the first part of this. For the first part of this song. So what you have here, it's a little small, but the drums are above. You can't see those. But the first part of the song, I'm going to start right before the guitar riff. I'm going to end it right before all this other fun stuff happens here, okay? Alright, so you get the idea there. One thing, I mentioned before, the whole plug-in things, it's going to sound different, all that fun stuff. The levels might not match all the way. Drums might be too loud in this video. The vocals might be too soft. I'm just going to leave them alone for right now, but just understand that if something is out of place, there's probably a reason. I just really... Again, I'm just trying to show you how this is put together. I'm not trying to show you how to mix a song. So the next part of the song, right after I sing that part, the bass kicks in, but there's also some weird ambient noise that comes in as well. There's a moment where I don't sing, and then I do kind of sing right before like a break between the two verses. Okay, so you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So while the guitar is playing, my vocals are playing, that synth is playing in the background, I have all this stuff happening up here. The first thing I want to point out to you is after I'm done with that first part of the vocals, the bass kicks in. And here's the bass soloed. I wasn't going for complex. I just wanted to add something at the bottom of the song to just push it forward, if you will. So this area right here where I have this weird green color, this is where I started adding elements, and it gets more complicated later on through the song. I'm going to break it down one by one, and then I'm going to play this section for you, this whole section at the same time, and then I'm going to play the entire song up to this point to show you what I'm talking about. The only reason why I wanted to show you guys this song today wasn't because this song's necessarily amazing, and it's not because, because I don't really want to cover a complicated song like this, but I do want to show you how you can take synths and sounds and combine them together to create a unique atmosphere to the song. And so this is the main reason why I'm showing you. So if you're not paying attention to anything else that's happening, focus on this part of the song. So here we go. So the first part of this where it gets kind of starts to get complicated is this little section right here. It plays in between the bass lines. So the bass will play and then this part comes in. Now it's really quiet right now, but when I do the post-production on this video, I'm gonna raise the volume. So it's gonna be loud when you hear it, but in the mix it's toned down a little bit because I have so much going on that I can't have everything as loud. So just keep that in mind. That's another thing I've been wanting to tell everyone that's watching is not everything is as loud as I'm portraying in the video. I'm just trying to let you hear what's happening. So, because again, if I make everything as loud as possible, the mix is just gonna suck. So this is louder to you than it is to me right now. Now the next part that comes in, I'm gonna solo this too, is this track right here. Now this sounds like just noise. Like how the hell would you use this in a song? Well, this is another example of how you can pretty much take any sound that you want and make it into a song. Here's the next track. And so what I did is I took these three sounds, I panned the first one up here all the way hard left, I pan the second one about 70 to the left, and I pan the right one about 100 to the right. So all the way to the right. So all together, these three sounds make this. And as you can tell, a little bit later on, I mute certain parts of the track because I didn't want to be too repetitive. But that's what you have for those three. But that wasn't enough for me, so I went ahead and added some more sounds. And here's what you have, just little 4 hits right here. And that's this track. Again, it's going to be louder to you than it is to me. And then that's pan 62 to the left, and then 51 to the left is this. Yep, and there's one more thing. This one's at the bottom here. This one's also panned to the left. Now, all together, this is what has been created. And if you're curious, all these sounds are just random synth sounds that I created using a variety of different types of synths that I had. To be honest, I didn't have a set goal on mine. I just found really cool sounds, and I just put them into the song. I did have a purpose as I was putting them into the song, but I didn't have them when I was creating them. It was just like, oh, this sounds neat. Let's put this in here. So all together, this is what this synth element sounds like. Now when you add that with the bass, it sounds like this. Now let me add the guitars. All right, so you get the idea. You see what I'm doing there. So we're gonna go ahead again. I'm gonna make this small. I'm going to hide the drums up at the top so you can see everything else. When the song plays, I'm going to start towards the end of what you already heard, my first verse here. It's right before all those synth sounds come in, and I'm going to pretty much play it all the way through to the second part of the song. Actually, all the way till where there's that little like middle break before the second part of the song. You're going to hear some more vocals. This is, these vocals right here is where I say, I am alone. Again, that's the chorus. And this is the vocals by themselves. I am alone. I am alone. You can hear where I put some delay in there. I am alone. I am alone. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start right before the synth parts. I fade away. Now on to the second part. Now, one thing I do want to point out before I get to that is I added this little guitar drone note in here. Again, I'm a huge fan of these, and I did this because I wanted some kind of transition and some kind of indication that something else was about to happen. This is the note by itself. And going into it, it sounds like this with everything. All right, so you'll hear it kind of blend into the rest of it, but I wanted to just show you the rest of this before, by itself, before I did anything else. So the song kind of does something different here. The first thing I did, and I'll solo it real quick just to show you, but I added the same guitar track, recorded separately, mind you, but it's the same riff, but I added some type of little tremolo effect onto the second part of it. The first guitar that you've been hearing all along is panned about, was panned about 55 to the left. Now they're both panned hard left and hard right. Let me solo the guitar I added. It's the same thing, but try to listen for that little tremolo effect I added. So I think you can hear that. And then, of course, together. But what I did here, again, this isn't really, this still qualifies as the middle break section before the second verse. What I did, though, is when the first verse ended, I wanted to add this kind of epic-y, guitar sound. And this is it right in this section right here. So this is it soloed. I'm going to play them both at the same time because they're the same riff, recorded separately. But I want you just to hear them panned. They're not panned down the middle. They're only like 35 to the left and to the right. But you'll hear this by itself. And so what I did, though, is where this break happens, it's about right here. And so when the first verse ends, the drums they stop playing, and then they do another hit right in the middle. But as right before that second hit to the drum happens, the main guitar riff comes in, and it kind of adds a little bit of a lead into the main verse. Now, there's not much different going on as far as the verse goes, except for there's a little more energy in the song. The drums are hitting a little bit faster. You have the main guitar riff, now it's doubled and panned, and you also have this little lead that I just showed you that's still playing throughout the verse. So I'm not going to go too much into detail. You've already heard the elements by themselves, but let me go ahead and play this song for you right before that break and right up into the verse, and you're going to hear my other vocals come in again. But what I'm going to focus on in a second is how this song pretty much ends before the main break. So here we go. You can still hear the drums. And of course the bass has a little bit more energy as well. I'll solo this. So instead of stopping and then starting up again, it's kind of flowing a little bit more. And by stopping and starting, if you look at this part of the bass line where it stops in this little section right here, over here it doesn't do that. And so the drums pick up, the bass is a little bit heavier, but it's pretty much doing the same thing. The main guitar riff, and by the way, I'm just reviewing, the main guitar riff's the same, and then you have your lead in. So here is the second verse. Okay, so let me stop right here. One thing I do want to point out, and this is also a neat songwriting technique, that lead that came in, I cut it out right before my verse started. The reason why is I didn't want the song to get complicated. So it sounds good, but I took it away. I let it fade out right when the vocals started in again. I could have had it playing all the way through, but now I'm adding another element to the mix that I didn't really want there. A lot of times with songwriting, it's very difficult to write a cool riff and then to pull it out when you need to. It's a really frustrating thing, something you kind of have to learn how to do, but in most cases it will make the song better because it picks it up and it brings it back down. It's all about the flowing with music. So again, just to kind of review, we have, the intro, you have the first verse, you have it where it kind of goes down where I say, I am alone. You have that little break where this guitar comes in. And then you have the second verse comes in, right when this little lead, this pretty lead guitar goes away, the second verse comes in. Now, if you remember, in the first verse, after I sing my song, there was a break. There was a break before I started to sing I Am Alone again. I'll go back and show you what I mean. If you look here, I have some vocals right after the second verse here. Let me open that up again. So I have some vocals right here. In the very first verse, it was all quiet. You see how it is? I did have something here, but I muted it out because I didn't need it, but I didn't want to delete it. So yeah, if you're ever wondering why these are all grayed out, they're muted, and a lot of times they're muted for most songwriters is because we don't want to delete them because we might want them later on. So it's just better to mute them and come back to them if we need to. And so in the first verse, it does this. So there's nothing going on until I sing I Am Alone. Well, because the second verse was a little bit faster and there's a lot more energy going on, I wanted the song to still flow, and I felt by not having vocals in there, it was just going to kind of, it was going to fade out a lot easier. So I added this, and I'll go ahead and solo it. I added some flanger to my vocals just for effect. It wasn't for any other reason than to make this part of the song sound different.
No memories to mourn, no replaying in my mind, no loneliness without you, no ties that may bind.
So now, when this plays after this verse, this is what it all sounds like.
You're all gone. No memories to mourn, no replaying in my mind, no loneliness without you, no ties that may bind.
All right, so That's really the main difference between, besides the energy, that's the main difference between the first and the second verse. The other difference is right before, in the first verse when I sang I Am Alone, it was very chill. It was still not much going on. This gets complicated because I wanted this to have a lot more energy right before the end of the song. And so the first thing I did is I went back and I added that lead guitar, that drone note guitar, and it sounds a lot different. In fact, I added two of them. Yeah, there we go. I added two of them. So I'll play the first one so you can hear it by itself. And that's it. And then the second one is this one. And then, so I decided to start layering things like I always do. And then you have these guitars. As if you remember, it's the same pretty guitar riff that I had, the first breakdown. So then, together with that drone note, this is what it sounds like. Now, if you ever do something like this, one thing I didn't do, but you can do, is these guitars are going straight down the middle. This is what they sound like again. But you can always pan them to get a bigger sound out of them. So I'm gonna pan it, 60 left and 60 right, or 62, whatever. So you can tell, you can see, or you can hear rather, how bigger that sounds. But because I have a lot more going on, I didn't want to make everything go to the left and to the right. In addition to those two tracks, I still have the intro guitar playing, or the main guitar playing. And that's this right here. And now all together you have... and then you also have that that intro synth playing, so it adds some more, gives you some more creepy dynamic, adds some color. I'm not going to solo it because you already know what it sounds like, but here's what it sounds like as I'm building everything up. All right, and the last thing I have is the bass. I actually cut out the drums when this happens. You're gonna hear it in the mix, and you'll understand why I did it. But I'll still explain it. So this is the bass with everything. All the bass is just a one-note hit. That's it. So when you have that playing alongside everything I just showed you so far, you have this. Oh, and by the way, ignore all this for right now. All I'm playing is the bass and those guitars. So you're gonna see all this stuff. This is nothing for right now. In 2 seconds, I'm gonna explain it. And that's that. Now, as I'm writing this song and knowing that I just created a bunch of synth sounds before, I wanted to do the same thing again except instead of having those synth sounds come in while I was singing my music before in the first verse, I wanted these synth sounds to come in at, right at the very end of the second verse, but I also wanted them to be more aggressive, more machine-like, if you will, more Trent Reznor-y. Excuse me. And so I'm gonna break down a little bit of what I have for you, and you'll end up hearing. You'll start to understand. It's not much different. There are some same qualities, but I made it more aggressive. So there are some things in here that I didn't use before. So just like I showed you before, the first element is this. This one's panned 50 to the left. That's it. And once again, these are a lot louder to you than they are to me because I just want you to hear them. But in the mix, they're quieter, so they can all work together. The second line is panned 100 to the right. The third one is 62 to the left. The fourth one is 100 to the right. Now, together, these four elements sound just like this. So obviously that's not aggressive, but you'll understand why I put them in a second. The second set, which is right here, is a lot more aggressive, as you can tell by the audio file. Go ahead and make those smaller. This is the first part of the second set right here. This is panned 51 to the left, by the way. All right, the second one is 70 to the right. So already I'm getting sort of an 8-bit crush distortion right there. The next one is 92 to the right. And the last one is 51 to the left. Again, there's no reason why I pan these, specifically 51. I just did it because that's where I wanted the sound to go. All right, so all together with the first and the second set, this is the sound that I created. Now, I also want to say one last thing is you don't have to go to these lengths to create sounds. It's what I decided to do for this because I couldn't create anything in a synth by itself, so I just wanted to just go the extra mile. So all together, so don't think you have to do the same thing as this to create this type of sound. But so all together, this is what it sounds like. And that's that. So now I'm going to show you how everything sounds together. Now I know this is kind of hard to see, and I also know I say now a lot, and I apologize for that. Jesus, I say it a lot. We have the drums that go away. We have the bass line that still plays. We have all my synth stuff right here. We have my guitar stuff right here. And also right here, and then we have my intro synthesizer sound, and then my vocals where I say I am alone. I'm going to crank those up just a little bit more because they might get lost in the mix since there's a lot going on. So here is everything before. I'm going to start right here, and this is going to go all the way to about right here.
No ties that may bind. I am
so that's the first half of this song. The second half isn't as complicated, but you know, just to give you an idea, what a song can look like when you start adding element on top of element, and you start trying to get creative. You know, when we write music, when we especially mixing engineers, when we sit here and we try to when we try to compartmentalize everything or clean up the project so everything's color coded, I'm guilty of not doing that all the time. If you notice, some of these mixes aren't color coded. I don't have any, like up here with my location, I should have, you know, verse, chorus, verse. I get lazy with that kind of stuff, and since I really work by myself and I don't have to deal with other people, not that I don't want to, but because I just don't, and I haven't in a while, I've just gotten lazy. I know what I'm trying to do. Now, if I were to actually send this out to somebody else, you know, I'd absolutely label tracks and do all that stuff. But even by doing all that stuff, a song can get really complicated. So, you know, again, this is an example of that. So just to review, again, intro, all this is the verse right here. There's a little break. Here's a small chorus. Then there's like another, you know, break in this part, and then it picks up with the verse 2, and then it ends with the final like big grand finale before the breakdown or before the repetitiveness that comes into play. All right, that's the end of this segment of the song. I hope it made sense to you. The second video is going to be a lot more complicated, and I'll elaborate a little bit more when that second video comes out. Again, and as always, thank you for watching.